Everything rises and falls on leadership. This is a statement that everyone is familiar with. And today, we want to look at the implication of this statement as far as the subject of change is concerned. I'm discussing with you very quickly on how to lead change. How to lead change. By the way, I need to appreciate you for joining me on today's episode of Leaders Arise. And particularly for some of you that have been hanging with me or hanging out with me on this platform, I really want to appreciate you. And I want to believe that today's episode of Leaders Arise will be a blessing to you. So let's get started as we discuss on how to lead change. This is the part 3 of my series on the subject of change. And last 2 episodes, I emphasized the constancy of change. And of course, last episode, I taught you, if you were part of that broadcast, if not, go back to the stream, to the page where you're streaming from, you will see that episode where I discussed on how to prepare for change. Today, we want to speak to leaders or anyone or everyone who actually is influencing people one way or the other. So let's get started on this topic that I've titled How to Lead Change. Now, among other things, one of the things that change calls for is leadership. Leadership. Can I quickly say that when change happens, people sometimes are confused. People do not know where to turn to. People do not know what next to do. So that is when people are looking for leadership and leaders. Whether it's in a country ravaged by coronavirus, people are looking towards their president. Whether in a family, all right, that have just suffered some changes, either in economy or finance or whatever it is, people are looking forward to the dad at home. Whether it's in the local church, in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, people want to ask the pastor, what next? So it suffices to say that when change happens, leaders are needed. And I'm not only speaking to positional leaders alone. I'm not speaking to MDCO alone, even though they will benefit greatly from this discussion. I'm not speaking to presidents of nations or governors of states. I'm not talking to pastors alone. I'm not talking to fathers or mothers at home. I'm talking to an average individual. Because on my mind, change actually gives platform for leadership for whoever it is that will rise to the occasion. Can I say it again? Change actually gives or presents platform for leadership to whoever will rise to the occasion. You will agree with me, for instance, now that leaders of industries have changed just within 5 months. I'll use the example of Zoom, the Zoom Corporation. All right. I don't have the facts and figures precisely now, but you would agree with me that that company has soared because of change. Yeah. How many people used Zoom before? But now, Zoom appears to be the new normal as far as connecting with other people in terms of having meetings and conferences and all that is concerned. So industry leaders are emerging because of change. Ministry leaders are emerging because of change. Leaders in different spheres of endeavor, they are emerging because of change. Because change actually gives opportunities for leaders to arise. But whether you are going to arise or not, you've got to learn how to lead change. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not speaking to people who are in positions of leadership alone, because I've disabused our mind about leadership position on this broadcast. I want to also speak to those who may not have positions of leadership, but who needed to leverage the change that has presented itself so that they can gain leadership. So let me begin by saying this, that when change happens, you have got to understand that you have the capacity to lead it. And I will take my statement from 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 13. I know we normally use that scripture to explain temptation, because the Bible said in 1 Corinthians 10:13, Apostle Paul was quoted as saying, "No temptation has overtaken you except that which is common to man, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted above what you are able, but in the same temptation he would provide a way of escape so that you may be able to stand." What does that tell us? That actually implies that when change happens in your life, when change happens in your sphere of endeavor, God has equipped you with what it takes to navigate that change. You only need to summon that ability in you to rise, because most of the time when change happens, we are always afraid. Something tells us, or tells the person, he's doomed. How can I cope? I've not done this before. Can I ever survive? Can I ever lead this group to the next level of success? In fact, some are resigning in the face of change. Some resign their position of leadership. All right, some leave organizations. Some fathers at home run away because of change. But they need somebody to tell them, the way I'm telling you today, that they've got what it takes to lead change. Because God is so faithful, He would not allow you to be confronted with what you cannot handle. The question is not, can I handle it? The question is, will I handle it? Because the can has been solved by the knowledge of the fact that God is wise and faithful, never to confront you with what you cannot handle. So your problem is not, can I handle it? Your problem is, will I handle it? That means, will I summon up the courage? Will I rise to the occasion, just like in 1 Samuel 17, while others were running away from Goliath, David was running towards Goliath. If you looked at David as he was in physique, you will have thought that David cannot handle that change. But David told himself, God is wise and faithful enough not to have brought me to the battlefield if he had not gifted me with what it takes to chop off the head of Goliath. And that's the same thing I want to tell you today, that the first lesson to learn in leading change is to understand the fact that you have got what it takes. You are not a misfit. You know, Mordecai was telling Esther in Esther 4:14. He said, you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. That was a time that change was needed in that kingdom. All right, so Esther was about to keep quiet, but there was a Mordecai who told Esther, don't keep quiet. You might look like a small girl, all right, who cannot do anything as you have taught, but can I tell you, Esther, God has not made a mistake for making you to be in the palace at this moment. God has not made a mistake to make you to be in that company at this moment. God has not made a mistake to have made you to be the pastor of that church at this moment. God has not made a mistake to have made you the husband of that young lady, the father of those children at this moment. God has not made the mistake to have kept you alive in year 2020, particularly between March and September that you and I are in at the moment, if God has not gifted you with what it takes to overcome it. So all of us, whether positional leaders or just as human, as simple as you think you are, we must remind ourselves that we have what it takes. That's number one. Number two, Like I said, when change happens, people are looking for leaders. So position yourself to be one. Yeah. Can I say it again? When change happens, people are looking for leaders. So what do you do? Position yourself to be one. And that's how you must understand that you are either part of the problem or you are part of the solution. There's no middle ground. If you are not part of the solution, you are already part of the problem. You are either a problem or you are a problem solver. There's no middle ground. So if you are not a problem solver, most likely you are part of the problem or you are a problem. Apology to say that. What I'm trying to say is this: you've got to position yourself as a leader. Position yourself to run away, rise to the occasion, position yourself. All right, as a solution provider, our world is in need of solutions. And I know very strongly that between now and the next 1 to 2 years, some product will come up. Solutions will come up in every field, in fashion, in media, in ministry. All right, so you've got to position yourself. All right, because when you position yourself all right, when change happens, you become leaders or a leader automatically. You won't be given leadership by votes. You'll be given because you position yourself. People will not have to vote for you, but they will have to accept you because you have what they need. Because people are looking for solutions badly when change happens. Yeah. Remember the story of Jephthah, I think in Judges? The people were being besieged or challenged by the enemy, and there was nobody to lead them, but there was a Jephthah who they had once thrown away or cast away from their father's house because they said he was a bastard, who went to work on himself, meaning position himself to be a leader. He was the one that they called, and he told them, if you want me to be your leader, then this and he negotiated his terms. That can happen for you in your career. You can negotiate. If you want me to work for your company, this is my salary. This is the way I will work. So you'll be a dictator, all right, because you have positioned yourself as a leader. Jephthah positioned himself as a leader. So he was the one dictating. So people don't have to vote for you. Look at Joseph. Change took place in Egypt. There was famine. But Joseph positioned himself by honing his skills. He honed his skills. All right. So when the time came for dreams of Pharaoh to be interpreted, all the magicians and all that Pharaoh had failed Pharaoh. But there was a Joseph that positioned himself for that change, and he became the leader. Number 3, very quickly. When change. Now, I want to discuss this third point to speak to those who are overseeing people. All right. And I want to say this way, that even though change happens automatically, but people's adaptation to change does not happen automatically or immediately. So for most people, they are just gradually to change. And this is speaking to positional leaders. One of the virtues that positional leader needs when change happens, as far as their work or relationship with the lead is concerned, is what I call patience. Yeah, patience. Not everybody, and that's why God gives us leaders to take us through a journey of change. Remember what it took Moses to lead the Israelites from the wilderness, from Egypt to the promised land. No wonder the Bible said Moses was the meekest man that ever lived, or before at that time. Why? It took meekness and patience to lead the Israelites through that change. Remember how they were complaining. Pastor, your church members will complain. Be patient with them, because those are the things that come out during period of change. Sometimes your children, maybe your wife will complain. Be patient. Just assure her that things are going to get better. Your friends are going to complain. Just the way the Israelites were complaining, all right, it were better. That was what they were saying. It were better. They never left Egypt. Egypt was better. If God brings you through a period of change, there is always something better. Never compare your Egypt to the promised land you are going towards. Even though the journey between Egypt and the promised land will be filled with wilderness experiences, but never make the wilderness make you think better of Egypt. Egypt is your past. Promised land is your future. Wilderness is your process. Egypt is your past. Promised land is your future. Wilderness is your process. So the process may not be sweet, but you can't compare the future to the past. So we need leaders to help us to keep focused on the future when our past keeps beckoning on us because of the challenges of the processes we are going through. And that is why God wants us to be leaders who will be empathetic. Leaders who will be patient enough. Leaders who will understand the nature of humans. Take them through it gradually. Be patient. Explain. Can you imagine when Noah was to take his family and the animals to the ark? That was patience and meekness in display. Most likely there was a snail in the group of animals. And you know how fast or how speedily snails move. Am I correct? They move very fast. That's ironically. But Noah had to wait. Change is coming. The cheetah has entered the ark with very fast speed. Okay? The lion has entered. The bird has flown. It has just entered there. But there was a snail that needs to be part of the change process. The snail can be a church member in your family, in your church. It can be one of your children. It can be one of your employees. It can be a friend. All right. That seem to be delaying others. Now, I know some people don't want to adapt to change. That's another different ball game. But I'm saying people who are whose heart is right, whose attitude, they are willing to be part of the change, but they need to still be helped. You've got to be patient. Number 4, very quickly, you need to model change. All right, because when change happens, people look up to the leadership, and what they are looking at, somebody that will be a description of their future. All right, so before you can take people through change, let them see you exemplifying that change. So change now will not be in your talking, but it will be in your modeling. Like they say in this part of the world, be the change. Am I correct? Now, people preach change. We need to change this one, change that one. But God needs leaders that will be the change. Because you are the best model for your people. You are the best example for your people. So in your family, be the change. In your business place, be the change. In your local church, be the change. Wherever it is you find yourself, be the change. Because God wants us to exemplify the change it is that we are encouraging people to subscribe to. The last but not the least, as I round up on today's broadcast, talking about how to lead change. Don't forget, I've spoken to you about the fact that you need to understand that when change happens, leaders are needed. Number 2, when change happens, leaders need to rise to the occasion. Number 3, leaders need to position themselves. Number 4, leaders need to be patient with the led when change happens. Then, of course, number 5, leaders need to be audacious. Now, let me speak to leaders who want change or who have subscribed to change, but their environment, vis-a-vis the people and all that, are not subscribing. You've got to be audacious. Keep pushing at it. Keep pushing it. Don't give up. The change will soon happen if you don't give up. I'll meet with you on this broadcast again some other time. I need you to go out there, practice all I've shared, and I do hope that it will greatly improve your life and leadership. Thank you for your time on this broadcast. Bye for now.